been on a flight and gotten a little grossed out by, something about the food?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're like 30,000 feet in the air. You're kind of at their mercy, right?
Right, exactly.
It's like, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Just kind of got to go with it.
Yeah.
Hope for the best.
Yeah, for the best.
So speaking of hoping for the best with airline food, we've got a story today that's, let's just say it takes the cake. Or maybe steals the crackers.
Steals the crackers. Sorry, I like that.
Yeah, so picture this. Scandinavian Airlines flight, Oslo to Malaga.
Okay.
And a passenger opens their meal tray and finds, get this, a mouse
Oh, no.
backing on their crackers.
Like, no big deal. Just, hey, what's up? I'm here, too.
Just hanging out. Don't mind me.
Oh, man. See, that's one of those things.
That's so right.
That's going to make the...
It did make the news.
Yeah.
It went viral, as these things tend to do.
Of course.
So that's what we're diving into today, folks.
All right, let's do it.
Buckle up. Because on this deep dive, we are going full on airline safety, pest control, the whole shebang.
I am ready.
And to piece it all together, we've got eyewitness accounts, like that passenger, Jarl Borestad. His story ended up in the BBC.
Oh, wow.
We've got official statements from SAS, the airline,
Right.
trying to do a little damage control, as you might imagine.
Understandably so.
And then, of course, the whole international news coverage, because, again, mouse on a plane, everybody's got to talk about it.
It's a headline.
Yeah, it is.
For sure.
So while it might sound, I don't know, kind of funny at first,
Yeah.
a sitcom or something,
Right, a little bit.
it does raise some, I think, important questions about just how these systems work or sometimes don't work.
Yeah, the systems we trust, when we get on that plane.
Exactly.
Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, how does a mouse end up on a plane?
Right, exactly. And in the food, that's the part that gets...
In the food.
Yeah.
Not just, like, hitching a ride in someone's backpack.
Right, it's not in the cargo hold, it's in the food.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
so let's set the scene a little bit.
Okay.
You're on this flight, Oslo to Malaga,
Right.
probably already dreaming of, like, paella and sunshine.
Of course, who isn't?
Right. And then suddenly there's this, like, commotion. People are whispering, maybe a little shriek.
Right.
And then the news spreads. Someone opened their meal tray and bam, unexpected guest.
Wow. I mean, talk about a really awful surprise.
Right. Like, I don't know about you, but I
Yeah.
would not be hungry anymore.
No, my appetite would be gone
Gone.
out the window.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing if it's like a little hair or something, but
Old mouse.
a whole other creature. I mean, come on.
Right.
That's wild.
And what's interesting is, so SAS, the airline,
Yeah.
they did give a statement to Agence France Presse, and they said, statistically,
Okay.
this is incredibly rare.
Okay, so this isn't like a common occurrence.
No, they're saying this is like almost unheard of.
All right. Well, that's good to know,
Right.
at least.
So statistically speaking, we're probably good.
Okay.
But, and I think this is a big, but it only takes one, right?
It only takes one to make you wonder,
Exactly.
like, what's going on up there?
And to really make people question, like, okay.
Well, do we trust airline food?
Right, exactly. Because if it happened once, it could happen again.
Exactly.
Potentially.
So how does this even happen?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right. Like, do these mice have their own, like, TSA pre-check line we don't know about?
Right, like a special entrance just for rodents.
Mice only. Nobody told us about this.
Yeah.
I need answers.
We need answers. We need to get to the bottom of this.
We do,
Right.
for sure. All right, so we've got this mouse on a plane in the food.
In the food.
The big question is, how?
Yeah, how does something like this even happen? It's a plane. They're supposed to be, sealed up tight.
Right, you'd think so, right? Like, where do we even begin?
Well, I mean, it's a huge operation, right? Getting all that food on board.
Yeah.
So many moving parts. Literally, it's a massive supply chain, starting with the food itself.
Right, they don't just, like, make it right there on the tarmac.
No, definitely not. These airlines work with these huge catering companies,
Right.
and they're pumping out thousands, tens of thousands of meals every single day.
Wow.
And these places, they have strict hygiene standards,
Yeah, they have to, right?
Oh, absolutely. But even with all that, even if they're like 99.9% effective,
Right.
one little slip up, that's all it takes.
And that's a lot of meals, a lot of opportunities for something to go wrong.
Exactly. And remember that Spanish article we were looking at?
Yeah.
They were talking about potential contamination, right?
Yeah, weak links in the system, they called it.
Right, exactly. Like maybe there was a problem at the source,
Yeah.
like with the food itself before it even got to the catering company.
Okay, yeah, so like a bad batch of lettuce or something.
Something like that, exactly. Or maybe it happened during the loading process.
Oh,
Maybe a container wasn't sealed properly, or there was a delay, and some little guy saw an opportunity.
right. Like an open door. Come on in, the food's fine.
Exactly.
So it could be the food prep, but what about the plane itself?
The plane.
Yeah, like could they have gotten in somehow?
Well, it's possible, and
Like a breach in the hull, little mice sneaking in?
not quite a breach in the hull, but,
Okay,
planes have a lot of access points.
that's true.
Cargo holds, baggage compartments,
Yeah.
even tiny little openings, for ventilation or whatever.
Okay.
And a determined mouse,
Yeah,
they can squeeze through some pretty tight spaces.
that's true. They're like little furry ninjas.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's less likely, but definitely not impossible.
Okay, so we've got the food supply chain, the plane itself,
Right.
and then there's always the wild card,
The wild card. What's that?
the accidental tourist theory.
Okay, I like that.
Like maybe someone brought a little friend on board without even knowing it.
Oh, you mean like in their luggage?
Yeah, maybe tucked away in a pocket or, thought the cheese in their bag was secure.
Right, a little snack for the ride.
Exactly. It's unlikely. I'll grant you that.
Very unlikely.
But stranger things have happened.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what's so fascinating about this whole thing. It just goes to show, you can have all these systems in place, all these checks and balances,
Right.
but sometimes
Yeah.
the unexpected happens.
So we've talked about the how, but what about the aftermath? What happens when a mouse, metaphorically speaking, throws a wrench into the gears of a system like this?
Well, it becomes a case study in crisis management, doesn't it?
Right. Like how does an airline, in this case SAS, how do they even begin to address something like this?
The first step, and we saw this in their response, is acknowledging the issue.
Right. They can't exactly sweep it under the rug.
No, not with the internet watching.
Exactly. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's a potential journalist these days.
Right, so they issued an apology, which, standard procedure.
Yeah, kind of expected.
But, and this is what I found interesting, they also launched an investigation
Oh, really?
into their suppliers.
Yep. According to that AFP article, they're really trying to figure out where the breakdown happened. Wow, so they're not just saying sorry, they're actually trying to fix the problem.
Exactly, and that's key because it shows they're taking it seriously, right?
Yeah, it builds back some trust, hopefully.
Exactly, because think about it, these incidents, they can really stick with people.
Oh, yeah. I'm never looking at airplane crackers the same way again.
Right, and it's not just about the immediate situation, it makes you question the whole system.
Right, like if it happened once, could it happen again?
Exactly, and not just with airlines, but with any of those systems we rely on.
That's true, like the food we eat, the water we drink, all of it.
It makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes. Really.
Exactly. Like how much trust are we placing in these systems without really knowing how they work?
Right, and I think that's a valuable takeaway from all of this, This idea of being informed, being aware, not just blindly trusting, but actually understanding the systems we depend on.
So what are we supposed to do? Like become airline food inspectors before we get on a plane?
I mean, if you have the time. But no, I think it's more about staying curious, asking questions, not being afraid to dig a little deeper.
Right, like knowing where your food comes from, how it's prepared.
Exactly. And not just with food, but with anything that impacts our lives.
So it's not just about mice on planes, it's about being informed citizens.
Exactly. And I think that's a great note to end on, don't you?
I think so. So next time you're on a flight, maybe give your meal a quick once-over, just in case.
It never hurts to be cautious.
That's right. And hey, if you do happen to see a mouse, maybe skip the crackers and ask for the peanuts instead.
Good advice.
And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the wild world of airline safety, pest control, and the importance of always checking your snacks. This is The Deep Dive, signing off.
Until next time.